guest today is Elija Evans, and he has an organization called No Use for Abuse. Did you know that every year more than 3 million reports of child abuse are made in the United States, involving over 6 million children?
People say, well, we need to get the police involved, we need to get the courts involved, but by the time it gets there, it's too late.
When you see somebody, if it seems like a child is like being sexually abused and you have that gut feeling, don't just say, oh, maybe I'm just overreacting. No, follow that gut feeling and follow up on those things, because you could really help someone, save someone's life.
Kristen Maddox overcame a 12-year addiction. Now she pulls others out knowing that some have escaped death for the last time. Shauna Butler understands the pain of sexual abuse. Now she uses her voice to unhush the little girls inside of women she counsels. This is Keeping It Real.
Good morning and welcome to Keeping It Real. I'm Kristen Maddox.
And I'm Shauna Butler.
Did you know that every year more than 3 million reports of child abuse are made in the United States, involving over 6 million children? A report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds. And our guest today is Elija Evans, and he has an organization called No Use for Abuse. And Elija, we're so excited to have you here on the show today. We know that you have been an Angel Award recipient for Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation, and we're excited to have you on the show because child abuse is obviously prevalent in the United States and really all over the world, and we know that you are fighting against that. And how did you get started with No Use for Abuse?
Well, I got the inspiration from whenever I was about 2 years old. I was a child abuse victim. I was burned on 43% of my body by my biological mother, and leading from that, I was placed in foster care for about 3 years. And from that string of experiences, after being adopted and dealing with different things and kind of just coming and growing up from the situation, I had an idea to do a Christmas party for some foster children. And when I had this idea, it kind of, I told my mom, my adopted mom, and she was just like, well, I can't afford to provide all those gifts for children in foster care and da-da-da, but I kept the dream kind of in my heart and kind of like something I always wanted to do. And then about the age of 12 years old, I joined a club called FCCLA, Family Career Community Leaders of America. And from there, I kind of, built up kind of like a passion for just community service and being able to give and just wanted to do something. And my 8th grade year, my teacher was like, Elija, you want to do a project with Prevent Child Abuse Louisiana? And I was like, sure. And for sure, like, I've been through those things, and I would be more than willing to tell people my story. And from then, I kind of told my story at a couple places, and everybody was like, well, can I make a donation and different things like that? And I was like, well, not really, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just doing stuff just to tell you about it. Yeah. And I kind of realized, like, oh, I could do the Christmas party I wanted to do because everybody wants to make a donation, and that could be part of my project. So that Christmas, I ended up raising over $5,000.
Wow.
And I helped over 72 foster children have a wonderful Christmas, and had a Christmas party, and all the children came out, and it was a really big success for that first year. So I decided that next summer that I want to do this as long as I can. So that's where No Use for Abuse first became a thing.
First got started.
Isn't that something, how when you have a desire to do something like that, that God will allow everything in the universe to line up in order for you to accomplish that? He'll always give you the provision to do it when you have a heart to do something like that for God.
And you had shared an interesting fact too at the Angel Award banquet. The person that adopted you was actually your nurse. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And she was a Christian. She's a Christian woman. And she told you to hold on to that vision, didn't she?
Yes,
and you carried that for a few years before, and then you met a teacher. Is that what it was?
Yes, I met a teacher, Miss Dawn Gary. She taught at Youngsville Middle School. She's now retired. She was a home ec teacher. And kind of like her family had basically been such an impact in the community and also in FCCLA. It's a great club, and she kind of just always told me, like, Elijah, whatever you want to do, I'm here to help you. And she always just really believed in me, and she gave me that extra push to do no use for abuse. And it was just that somebody who had no it wasn't really something she had to do. It was kind of like God just put her in a place and put it in her heart just to help me and help me accomplish these things.
So, Elijah, how long were you actually in foster care before you were adopted?
I was in foster care from about the age of 3.5 to about the age of 5 to 6. My adoption became final at about the age of 6.5. Okay. And once that happened, everything was joyful from there. Never had any problems with my mom I have now, and she just was, always my mom, and will never be anything but that, and just.
What do you think some of the challenges children that are in foster care face?
Oftentimes, a lot of the state's thing to do is try to place you back with your actual birth family, and sometimes that's really not the place you need to be. And a lot of times they have bad placements when it comes to the foster care. A lot of times the people who are in charge of the foster home or the group home isn't doing it for the right reason. They're not doing it the way they should be. They're just doing it for the money. And that leads to bad situations such as sexual abuse going on inside of the foster home, and neglect and child abuse. And foster home is supposed to be a safe haven for you to be able to get out of a situation you were previously in. And I was fortunate enough that I was placed in a home where that didn't go on in any way or shape or form. It was just like being in my family I am with now. They treated me the same. We lived out in the country, had dogs and, toys for days, and we went to school every day, enjoyed it. And, I really wish that everybody could have that same type of placement in the foster care system, because Louisiana is ranked really high in foster care and not having adoptions being finalized, and we're slowly decreasing the number, and we're getting better and better every year with the help of different organizations.
And you had shared, before we started taping today, you had shared a startling statistic with us. Can you share with our viewers what that was?
Yes. The United States spend annually about $80 billion on child abuse cases, dealing whether it's from DCFS workers they have to pay, from different clinics they have to pay for medical bills, and it just, not only is it causing us problems within our family, it's actually also causing us problems economically. So it's really a big thing that child abuse is really affecting a lot of places.
When you held your first No Use for Abuse event for the children, what was that like?
It was life-changing. It was an experience where it was to the point where my mom was like, Elijah, you need to go talk to other kids, and I was just so dumbfounded with everything, that all the smiles I've seen, and some of the kids had just asked for really simple things like socks and footballs, things that I could get on a regular basis, not necessarily have to wait till Christmas to get. And the kids just had such a positive vibe, and just it just struck me to the point where I just couldn't talk that day, and I just had to take everything in. And after that, I kind of was just like, I got to do this. I don't care how I have to do it, like how much of what I usually do has to stop in order for me to do this, but I have to do this some way.
So inspiring. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll come back and hear more of Elijah's story when we return.
Today, girls will die as a result of drug overdose, domestic violence, and even suicide. It doesn't have to end like this. There is hope. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women who are stuck in a vicious cycle. If you or someone you know needs help, call today, 225-665-HOPE, or visit our website at adoreofhopela.com.
I'm Pastor Philip Pimlott, and this is my wife Kelly, and we want to extend a special invitation for you to come and visit us at Heartsease Family Life Church. Heartsease is a safe place for you and your family, a place where life starts, love happens, and purpose is revealed.
Our church is located at 12112 Florida Boulevard, and our services are Sunday mornings at 9 and 11 and Wednesday evenings at 6:45.
For more information, check out our website, hflc.us. welcome home.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real. We are here with Elija Evans. He has a nonprofit organization called No Use for Abuse, and he was actually the youngest Angel Award recipient this year in 2015 from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation. And Elija, we were talking about your organization called No Use for Abuse, and I want to ask you, what do you think is the cause of child abuse?
It's really different things. Child abuse can really strain from different scenarios, whereas some parents really don't even know the proper way to raise their children. It's sometimes people just from learned experience. A lot of times in Louisiana, we believe in very harsh punishments for, not as severe things. And it's kind of like sometimes it strains just from learned traits. And the way to really, change that is to actually educate parents and teenagers really, and just young parents, and even some of the older parents still need some guidance, and really just becoming more involved in education and parental education. And also a lot of people deal with things, whereas after becoming pregnant and dealing with postpartum depression, a lot of times they just ignore it and just think of, it's going to go away on its own. But sometimes you need to talk to somebody and deal with that, because it could cause to become more and more, and like a snowball effect, become worse and leads you to doing something you would never imagine. So
that's very good. You're very knowledgeable of abuse with children. I know Kristen and I did a show on child abuse, and one of the things that we talked about was that it starts in the home. And it really, and most of the time, if a child, especially with sexual abuse, if they're being sexually abused, usually it's somebody close to them 8 out of 10 times. And I always say, people say, well, we need to get the police involved, we need to get the courts involved. But by the time it gets there, it's too late. We have to be involved in our own homes. We have to watch out for the neighbors, where even if we let a sister or a brother babysit the kids, we have to have eyes and look out for the people closest to us, because most of the time that's where the abuse comes from. The people that are closest to that child, family members, a school teacher, just somebody that's really close to you.
And definitely, and sometimes you'll see it on the news. A lot of times it's somebody who maybe you thought it was the man down the street who just looked at you a couple times, or looked at the child, or just showed too much attention to the child. But sometimes it'll be the person you don't think that you put a blind eye to.
Exactly.
And it really shocks me on a lot of daily basis when I go to watch the news, or just I'm on the internet and I'm just looking at different things and hearing some of the terrible tragedies that go on, and it's always that one close person, like your aunt or your uncle, that you would never thought.
Exactly, because people always say, and we talked about this too, is that parents usually teach their kids stranger danger, but most of the time it's not a stranger. It's someone really, really close to you. Maybe if you're walking to school, you want to teach them stranger danger so they don't get in a car with somebody. But when it comes to this type of abuse, it's going to be somebody in your circle, always.
And you mentioned something too. You had mentioned even parents that are very young. And that's why parenting classes and stuff like that are so important, like you said, to educate so that they are prepared to be able to parent. And so, Elija, what are some ways that we can prevent child abuse?
Again, with education, but also actually, if you see a neighbor seems stressed out with the kids, and you're seeing all these different traits, and you see the parent really screaming at their kids for sometimes for no reason, it's good to maybe say, okay, do you need a night off? I'll watch the kids for you, and be able to just take away that stress issue, because sometimes parents will just snap, because everybody has that one point where it's just, it gets to that point. Also, even just if you see a kid that just walking down the street and just unguided and just seems like he has nobody, just try to become involved in that person's life, and maybe you'll stop something terrible from happening. And it's just not only education, but becoming involved in your community helps a lot. Also, just noticing signs, because when you see somebody, if it seems like a child is like being sexually abused and you have that gut feeling, don't just say, oh, maybe I'm just overreacting. No, follow that gut feeling and follow up on those things, because you could really help someone and save someone's life.
And being that we have had a show on childhood sexual abuse, one of the things that we've often discussed too is preparing the children and letting them know that it's okay to use their voice, and it's okay to speak up and to say, you know, when something, good touch, bad touch, or when something's happening. And we had a guest on the show. Her name is Linnell Levy-Melanson, and she actually has a book called Toodles, the Turtle Tells the Truth. And it deals with children that are keeping secrets and having the courage, and how Toodles got her power back when she used her voice and she told her mom what was happening to her. So I think preparing our kids also is another way that we can help prevent child abuse.
And children need to know that they have a right to say no to touch, even if it is a hug. If it's a good hug, if they don't want to, then it's their body. Right. And we have to teach our kids, even from young, you know, a lot of times, and even, you know, I think about my grandkids, you know, sometimes they're with me and they'll meet somebody and they'll say, give me a hug. And if they don't want to, you shouldn't make them hug that person, because a child knows.
Right.
They know what they feel. And so if we teach them from young that they don't have to hug, it's okay not to hug. That's okay. You know, because they have to learn from young that, you know, if this is my body and there's a space in between me and you, and it's okay to say no.
They have the right to choose.
That's right.
Yeah. What do you believe was the key to helping child abuse survivors?
Becoming connected with someone who they could really match to, because a lot of the times with some of the survivors I deal with, they just need to make that connection with somebody and be able to talk to them and just really not really escape, but kind of deal with it head on, deal with it, and be able to talk to somebody about it. And with me, I believe that hope is the key to everything. I believe in giving hope and empowerment to child abuse victims, and being hope could guide you out of so many different things, out of the darkness that the world puts us in a lot of the times. And giving those kids hope and just giving people hope in general is really just the key that I believe in.
Yeah. And that's why your story is so important, Elijah, because you're actually sharing hope with others. Every time you share your story, they're able to connect with you and see that God brought you out of that and what He's doing in your life. And we're going to hear more about that when we come back from commercial break, when we return. Today, girls will die as a result of drug overdose, abuse that went too far, and even suicide. A Door of Hope provides free services to girls and women. If you or someone you know needs help, call us today. Hi, I'm Kristen Maddox.
And I'm Shauna Butler.
And I'm Louise Cook.
And Louise is the financial director at A Door of Hope Ministries. Every day at A Door of Hope, we have the opportunity to provide free services to girls and women that are struggling with various crises, various traumas in their life. And we cannot do this without the support of people in our community like you. You have the opportunity today to help us continue to provide these services at no charge to the girls. We cannot do it without you.
And like Kristen said, the services are free, but of course it does cost a Door of Hope in order for us to stay open. And so we do need your pledges. You know, every pledge is going to help some young lady to be able to heal, to be able to get over those life-controlling issues that they've been through. And that's our mission here at A Door of Hope Ministries.
And this is what we offer to you. You could pay through the Angel of Hope Fund. You could also do PayPal, credit card, or simply mail in your check. And also go on our website. That's another place you can give. And we thank you for your help.
I just want to ask you a question. How much is her life worth? Priceless, right? What if she was your mother, your sister, or even your daughter? You have the opportunity to help us make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real. We are here with Elija Evans, and he is the founder of No Use for Abuse. And before we went to break, we were talking about, Elijah, how your story inspires a lot of people that may be dealing with abuse and not been able to really share with anybody or connect with anybody, and why that's so important. Can you share with us maybe some stories of some people that you've been able to help?
I once met this young lady who was actually participating in something that I was participating in, and she kind of just, I had told my story, and she was just like, well, you know, I was going through the same thing. I was in a home where my parents were neglecting me. It was me and a couple other siblings, and we were being abused and being neglected. And she kind of just went on, and she was like, I'm in foster care. I was in foster care for a little bit. And how even when she was placed in foster care, she was still being sexually abused by the father. And it kind of, she just talked about how it just scarred her, and she's been having to deal with this thing, and it still affects her. But now that she had finally been placed in a home where she was truly being loved, that how much of a difference it made, and how she would just like to be able to do that for other kids, you know. And she really had a powerful thing, and she had went to the Synod and tried doing this thing, and she just wanted to make a difference just the same way I did. And it really, you know, brought joy to my heart to seeing that I had helped to inspire somebody else to make a difference in such a way.
And that's so true. You know, when we share our stories and what God has brought us out of, it ministers and it reaches the people that may still be going through those things, and it helps them then have the courage to
because
tell
when
their
you've
story.
been through it, then now they can feel the feeling of your infirmity, you can feel the feeling of theirs. But when you haven't been through it, you don't know.
Right.
But when someone's talking to you that have been through it, you can reach them. You know, the heart reaches the heart. Yeah.
And so as we're getting close to Christmas, what are your plans for this Christmas?
This year, thanks to the help of Blue Cross and Blue Shield, we're going to actually be able to host 2 Christmas parties, which is our first year. We actually are going to do one in northern Louisiana and then another one in southern Louisiana. So we're trying to really make a really big impact this year. We actually, last year, we did 220 kids from across the state of Louisiana, and it was a real hassle, but it was well worth it after we had got everything together and got everything put together. And this year, we're just going to try to impact as many kids as possible.
So what is your biggest challenge, Elijah? Like, for viewers that are watching and they're like, look, I want to get involved with No Use for Abuse, how can they do that?
Well, you could make a donation. The way we do our Christmas party is that we don't do toy drives. We actually customize the gifts to the needs of the children and what they ask for. So we accept monetary donations for the Christmas party. And you could either like our Facebook page at No Use for Abuse, or you could go to our website, which is nouseforabuse.org or .com, and make a donation and through PayPal and support our cause.
That's amazing. Now, you said that you were having it in southern Louisiana and also northern Louisiana. And so where do you have those Christmas parties?
We don't know about the northern Louisiana location, but we always have the one in my area, which is South Louisiana, is in Lafayette. Usually some center or recreational park or building in Lafayette. It comes down to, we really know the location of that earlier near the party, so because it's a really private thing, and we make sure, for obvious reasons with the foster children, have to keep that the event location private. But
that's amazing. And so this year was extremely totally changed your life probably when Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation notified you that you were going to be a recipient of the Angel Award this year, and they presented you with a check for $20,000, correct?
Yes.
And so thank you to Blue Cross, who helps people like you and your organizations in the fight against child abuse and just helping children in Louisiana and working with them. And
I think it's amazing. I was listening to his story and how he's very specific in, like what you get for the kids. And I just think that that's wonderful because, even with people that donate at different shelters and, they'll take certain kids' names and then they'll just buy for them, which is great. It's wonderful because if they didn't, those kids would not be able to get toys. but you go the extra mile. You say what they want. That's what I want to get them. You know, you go the extra mile. I mean, that just puts the cherry on the icing.
Right.
Because believe it or not, a lot of the kids, you think, okay, they're in a shelter or whatnot. Oh, maybe they want to, you know, this, a game system, a new bike or something like that. Sometimes a lot of the kids want things that they basically should already have. I've had kids request socks and shoes and different winters, like a jacket or some type of pajama. It's really, you know, it kind of puts a sadness on some of the things when I read the list and I go through the list, but then I'm like, okay, I'm able to help these kids. And even though they just asked for this, how about I just go out of my way and get them something even more? If they ask for clothes, okay, this is a teenager. Okay, I know what a teenager's like. I'm 17, so it's like, okay, I'll go to the mall, I'll get an American Eagle, you know, and try to really provide. In the past years, actually, I've had a secret Santa, I like to call him, because he donates every year, and he's like, okay, how many kids you have? And then he was like, all right, take these cards. Now, he was like, each of these cards, and when the kids went to open them, each card, it was in a gold envelope with a card, and each card had a new $100 bill in it. And in that year, we had 80 kids. So he was able to just do that, and he does that every year. And either if we have a lot of kids, like last year, he just puts it towards the gifts, and then other years he'll just give it to the kids directly. Because it's a lot of people are like, yeah, I've donated before, but the money was used for something not directly towards the kids, and I want to be able to give directly towards the kids. So that's what I was like, at the end of the year, one of my goals is to be able to say that all the money that was given was given back.
Right.
You know? And that's what No Use for Abuse tries to accomplish every year.
And so give the viewers your website one more time, Elijah.
NoUseForAbuse.org or .com, and like us on Facebook at No Use for Abuse.
Well, Elijah, I want you to know that this Wednesday I'm going to be ministering to our youth at our church, and I'm sharing your story to inspire them, because being that you're 17 years old with a nonprofit organization like yours in the fight against childhood abuse, thank you so much for being here on Keeping It Real. And just remember, you know, you're never too young. If you've got a vision or something in your heart that God's put on there, you're never too young. So dream big. Until next time.
Do you have a story? Send your personal story to info@adoreofhopela.com for a chance to be selected as a guest on the morning talk show, Keeping It Real.
Thank you to our sponsors. If you'd like to help sponsor the show Keeping It Real, please call 225-665-4673. That's 225-665-4673.